The silence that draped Eldoria was not the peace of a winter's first snow, nor the quiet reverence of a hallowed shrine. It was the silence of 1,000 unmade cries, of 1,000,000 unspoken prayers, of a kingdom bled dry until its very soul whispered its last, ragged breath. It was the silence that settled heavy in the hollowed out hearts of once bustling villages, in the skeletal frames of farms where fields lay fallow, choked not by weeds, but by despair. This was the quiet aftermath of the Iron Scourge, a cataclysmic war that had swept across the ancient lands like a pestilence, leaving behind only the dust of crumbled empires and the ghosts of forgotten dreams. For generations, the people of Eldoria had lived under the sprawling canopy of the Elderwood, their lives woven into the rhythm of the seasons, their history etched into the towering stone spires of Ethelgerd. They were a people of quiet resilience, their hands calloused by toil, their spirits buoyed by the ancient ballads of heroes and the whispered wisdom of the grove keepers. Their prosperity was legendary, their craftsmen renowned, their scholars revered. But then came the scourge, a tide of steel and shadow from the northern wastes, driven by an insatiable hunger and a chilling disregard for life. The conflict was not a swift, surgical strike, but a grinding, protracted agony, a slow dismemberment of a vibrant civilization. It had begun subtly, with border skirmishes dismissed as brigandage, then escalated into full-scale invasions, each wave more devastating than the last. The initial battles, fought with the fervor of patriots defending their homeland, had quickly devolved into a desperate struggle for mere survival. The grand armies of Eldoria, once gleaming symbols of power, were shattered into fragments, their banners reduced to tattered rags, their commanders either fallen or broken, their magnificent fortresses reduced to skeletal ruins against a perpetually grey sky. The human cost was unfathomable. Villages that once teemed with the laughter of children and the clamour of markets now stood as sombre monuments to loss, their timber frames charred, their stone foundations cracked, perpetually shrouded in the scent of ash and decay. The ancient census scrolls, meticulously kept for centuries, now lay incomplete, filled with names struck through, entire family lines abruptly terminated. Estimates spoke of hundreds of thousands, perhaps even 1,000,000 lives, extinguished in the inferno. This was not merely statistics, but the agonizing reality of countless personal tragedies, each life a universe of experience snuffed out. Mothers clutched starving infants, their eyes hollow with a grief too profound for tears, their lullabies replaced by the distant rumble of war drums and the chilling whispers of starvation. Fathers, stripped of their sons and their livelihoods, wandered the desolate roads, their footsteps echoing the emptiness within their souls, their once proud shoulders now permanently stooped under the weight of an unyielding burden. The vibrant tapestry of Eldorian society had been ripped apart, its threads scattered to the winds. The very essence of what it meant to be an Eldorian was being eroded, replaced by a pervasive, creeping nihilism. Children born in the shadow of the scourge knew only deprivation and fear, their childhood stolen before they ever truly began. Amidst this widespread devastation, the everyday struggles of the survivors were monumental, each breath of victory against overwhelming odds. The once fertile plains, fed by the winding silver stream, were now barren, crisscrossed by the scars of cavalry charges and siege engines. What little grain could be coaxed from the exhausted soil was ruthlessly plundered or withered under an unnatural blight that seemed to accompany the invaders. Famine was not an abstract threat, but a constant, gnawing companion, its spectre lurking in every shadowy corner, its grip tightening with each passing day. Water sources were contaminated, livestock decimated, and the few remaining artisans struggled to mend tools or forge meager implements from scavenged metal, their skills once prized now relegated to the desperate art of survival. The social fabric, once strong and interwoven, frayed at the edges. Trust became a luxury few could afford, suspicion a necessary shield. Communities, once bound by shared traditions and kinship, dissolved into isolated pockets of fearful individuals, each safeguarding their meager provisions with a wary eye. The once sacred festivals, celebrating the harvests and the turning of the sun, were long forgotten, replaced by solemn vigils for the dead and hushed prayers for deliverance, mumbled furtively in the shadows. The grand narratives of their history, once a source of collective pride, now felt like cruel mockeries in the face of such overwhelming misery. Yet, even in the deepest troughs of despair, something persisted, a faint, almost imperceptible tremor beneath the surface of the broken earth. It was the whisper of ancient lore, the lingering echoes of a time when heroes walked the land and magic intertwined with mortal destiny. The grove keepers, the dwindling custodians of Eldoria's spiritual heritage, spoke in hushed tones of prophecies etched in forgotten running-stones and sung in the wind through the oldish trees of the Elderwood. They spoke of the shadow of the Iron King that would consume the world, but also of a thread of light that would emerge from the most unlikely source. Central to these legends was the tale of the Blade of Aeons, a sword said to have been forged in the heart of a falling star, tempered by dragonfire and imbued with the collective courage of the first kings of Eldoria. It was not merely a weapon. It was a symbol, a vessel of power that transcended steel and spell, rumored to possess a will of its own, guiding the hand of its wielder. According to the lore, it was wielded by the legendary King Theron the Unbroken, who united the warring tribes and ushered in Eldoria's golden age. His reign was marked by peace and prosperity, attributed directly to the sword's protective aura and its ability to inspire unwavering loyalty and bravery, even in the direst of circumstances. But the Blade of Aeons had vanished centuries ago, lost during the Great Sundering, a period of cataclysmic upheaval that preceded the current age. Some said it was shattered in a desperate last stand against an ancient evil, its fragments scattered across the realm, hidden by earth and time. Others believed it was hidden away by a vengeful sorcerer, its power sealed within a forgotten tomb, awaiting the touch of a worthy successor. The most prevalent, and perhaps most heartbreaking, legend suggested it was simply broken, snapped clean in two during a forgotten battle, its immense power bleeding away into the very earth it sought to protect. A broken sword, they called it, a tragic testament to a lost golden age, its very existence now a wistful fantasy whispered around dying embers. Its pieces, if they truly existed, were thought to be inert, mere shards of metal, incapable of the grandeur it once represented. It was a relic of hope, now ironically, a symbol of broken dreams and ultimate failure, mocked by the very wind that carried its legends. The idea that a fractured blade, a relic of ruin, could hold any significance in their current desperate straits seemed preposterous, a cruel joke whispered by the wind, an insult to the scale of their suffering. The invaders, the brutal armies of the north, were led by the Iron King, a figure shrouded in myth and terror, his very name a curse on the lips of the Eldorian survivors. His warriors were disciplined, ruthless, and seemingly immune to the common fears of man, their cold eyes reflecting the barren lands from which they hailed. They wielded dark sorcery and monstrous beasts alongside their tempered steel, striking fear deep into the hearts of any who dared resist. Their campaign was methodical, a relentless push southward, consuming everything in their path with an efficiency that was as terrifying as it was effective. The last bastions of Eldorian resistance were falling one by one. The famed fortress of Griffin's Roost, thought impregnable, had crumbled after a brutal 2-month siege, its walls breached not by force, but by a chilling blight that rotted stone and flesh alike. The brave knights of the Sunstone Order, Eldoria's last organized military force, had been annihilated in the Battle of the Whispering Marshes, their noble sacrifices turning the swamp crimson, their desperate cries echoing across the desolate wetlands. The air itself seemed to crackle with an unspoken plea, a silent scream for deliverance. The wise men of Ethelgud, those who had survived, pored over dusty scrolls, desperately searching for a forgotten ritual, a hidden prophecy, anything that could offer a glimmer of light. But the answers remained elusive, cloaked in riddles and the mists of time, offering no solace to a dying people. Hope, that most fragile yet essential of human emotions, was fading fast, replaced by a cold, numbing acceptance of their inevitable doom. It was in this crucible of despair, amidst the ashes of a dying world, that the stage was set for the unimaginable, a world that had forgotten the meaning of peace, that had lost faith in the power of heroism, that clung to fractured myths like desperate whispers in the dark. It was a world that needed not a king or a conqueror, but something far more improbable, an ordinary individual touched by an extraordinary destiny, wielding not a legendary weapon of might, but a simple broken sword, a symbol of everything they had lost, yet perhaps also of everything they could still become. This individual would not fight for glory, nor for conquest, but for the quiet dignity of 1,000 lives trembling on the precipice of oblivion, their fates hanging by the slenderest of threads, awaiting a spark of defiance from the most unexpected of sources.